Welcome to Boxing During Dinner, episode 27.
It's 2-5. Give me a 2.
Wait, but that's
252.
That's 72.
That's 252. So give me a 2 and then give me 7.
There you go.
27.
27.
That's why we're communications
Exactly.
majors.
As you saw in the last episode, I got married.
Yeah, right.
So,
Armando. Woohoo!
It's game over for me.
Yep.
Could you see the shirt there? Game over.
Yep. Show them the ring.
And
Let them know it's real.
I got one of these. So so that's it. I know a lot of girls watch Boxing During Dinner.
You broke a lot of hearts last week.
They have crushes on us.
Yeah.
And you still have no ring, so they'll probably like me more because chicks like what they can't have, and I'm married now, so
they can't have me either. I'm taking 2.
Exactly. She's the young lady that brought the Riesling a few weeks ago.
Yeah, and the chocolate chip cookies. Oh, so good.
Well, once again today we're having, or at least I'm having Subway, which I've already gone through one half. I'm gonna start the other one soon. David is just having water. He's on some sort of diet.
Yeah, I'm trying to cut down, get everything back in order.
Well, the thing is, at my reception there was so much food.
Yeah. That
David over here, he has the guns here on Boxing During Dinner. I'm kind of weak. I haven't worked out a lot lately. But
you don't have to. If I had your metabolism, I wouldn't either.
I don't gain any weight. And I went to an all-inclusive in Punta Cana. Great. I highly recommend it.
Yeah.
And then I went to Disney World.
Man, the life.
Food and Wine Festival.
Must be nice.
Good stuff.
While the rest of us peasants were back here in Miami.
Exactly.
For the past 4 days. Enough about the weather.
But fear not, my boxing aficionados. I actually watched the fights.
Yeah,
I watched the fights. I didn't watch them on the honeymoon because I wouldn't be here. There'll just be David and that's it, because I'd be dead.
Yeah.
I would have been divorced or dead or
both. Divorced.
I was gonna make a really bad joke, but I'll steer away and I won't even mention Aruba. But
we know where that's going. All right,
boxing. So I did see the Hopkins Chad Dawson fight. And I know last week we both gave our predictions. I said Hopkins would win. You said Dawson would win.
I don't think either of us are really right.
Neither of us were right because it should have been a no contest. I think it's been a horrible year for referees named Russell. This was Pat Russell, Russell Mora, of course. Definitely screwed up the Abner Maris, Joseph Ekbeko fight. But in this fight, David, I don't understand how, whether Hopkins pushed his head down or not, Dawson picked him up and slammed him on the ground. I think the injury was legit. I'm not here to say, Hopkins quit. It wasn't a legit injury. For one, he landed on his shoulder. I don't know, a lot of people that say it might be a fake injury obviously haven't been tackled or haven't hit the ground or aren't 47 years old and have been tackled. So, you got to take in all these factors. Plus, when has Hopkins really quit? I know he's one of these, old crafty fighters. He has a lot of tricks up his sleeve, which is one of the reasons it makes him great. But he's done it tactically to buy some time in fights. Yeah. This wasn't buying time in a fight. This was he lost his title because of this injury. So I really don't think Hopkins had any reason to lie and abandon that fight. He was fighting Chad Dawson. This isn't Floyd Mayweather. This isn't Manny Pacquiao, Sergio Martinez, Amir Khan. I can name you 20 fighters that would have maybe caused a little fear in Hopkins if they were in their respective divisions. Chad Dawson isn't one of them. I'm not a big Chad Dawson fan. I'm just not.
The Chad Dawson argument is one that I'll disagree with, but everything else I do have to agree. You see the injury that happens or doesn't happen. If you want to doubt the severity of it, fine. But I think the biggest issue here is, unfortunately, and I want to take it a step further beyond the semantics of what happened or what didn't happen. I think boxing has learned far too many times already this year, and there are plenty of examples beyond just the Mayweather-Ortiz fight and now Hopkins-Dawson. Instant replay needs to be instituted. This is just a sport that needs to have something like this, so that questions of judgment. I mean, referees are going to make mistakes, and unfortunately, in a fight where there are only 2 people in that circle, square ring, whatever, fighting, and a mistake like this happens, or you need to make a judgment about whether or not this was an intentional, throw or whatever, or is it a foul? Is it not a foul? Should they give Hopkins 5 minutes? There were so many things that could have happened in that instance that didn't. And I just think it's a disservice to fight fans who not only were looking forward to this fight, but who paid $55 of their hard-earned money. So if you bought the Mayweather-Ortiz fight and you bought the Hopkins-Dawson fight, you're out $110 and you got a total of 6 rounds of terrible
absolutely.
boxing. And I think that's a huge issue. I mean, that's one of the things that is not being addressed. People want to pick sides about either Hopkins or Dawson, depending on who their favorite fighter is. But why are our boxing fans not clamoring for a little bit more? We deserve better as fight fans, especially because we have to pay to watch our sport. And I think that there are a number of things that can help the sport, but I think that instant replay is one of them.
See, I disagree about the instant replay. I'm kind of a purist when it comes to instant replay in sports. I don't think it should exist in baseball. For one, in football, yes, because football is a game of inches. I mean, sometimes the plays happen so fast. To reference your favorite team, Calvin Johnson will catch a touchdown in the end zone and he comes down with both feet just barely in. You need an instant replay for that because they might get screwed out of 6 points if the referee or the line judge says that he was out of bounds. But in boxing, I mean, there was no punch thrown, so obviously it wasn't a knockdown. It was a tackle or a throw or whatever, and the difference between this and a low blow, because yeah, if you get hit with a low blow and you can't continue after 5 minutes, it is a TKO. You lose the fight. But being punches in the nuts, as much as it hurts, after taking a few breaths and taking your time, you kind of recover. Your nuts might still hurt a bit, but you might you might be able to continue. This is a separated shoulder. This is an injury that sometimes requires surgery, sometimes it doesn't. I mean, I don't know. Have you ever watched Best of the Best?
No, I haven't seen it.
It was a 1980s horrible film with Eric Roberts and a whole bunch
you
of
already
other.
said what you need to say. I've heard of Best
James
of the Best.
Earl Jones was in it, but Eric Roberts' character, they separate his shoulder,
Yes.
they pop
Okay,
it
I
back,
have seen this
back
movie,
in,
yes.
and then he wins his
It's
fight.
a fighting movie, yeah.
Which is obviously a bunch of bullshit. Ahmad Rashad was doing the commentary. My main man, Eric Roberts with his separated shoulder. But Hopkins couldn't continue. So I don't know how the hell that's a TKO. And what bothered me the most isn't that Pat Russell made the wrong call, because I think he made the wrong call. It should have been a no contest. I don't think it should have been a DQ. I don't think that Hopkins did himself any service by lunging in and putting his arm over Dawson's head.
The back of Dawson's head. Exactly.
And I don't think Dawson really went out of his way to pick him up and body slam him, but he did throw him. I mean, he did get bothered and lost his cool and did throw him. Should have been a disqualification? No. A no contest? Yes. But what bothered me the most was Dawson's reaction after the fight. You won the fight. You got a gift decision. You have the title. Then he starts talking shit to Hopkins after the fight, acting like if he's all bad. I mean, do you really? If you're a guy that says you're the best, that you deserve to be champion, do you think winning a title under those circumstances and make it okay for you to celebrate the way he did?
Of course not. But here's one way where I am going to side with Chad Dawson. And I would argue the last time Bernard Hopkins is a notorious complainer. For all the great things we can say about him, you have a hard time arguing that he does complain in his fights. Against Roy Jones, you saw what you could argue were just virtually nothing type of punches, where Bernard Hopkins flopped onto the canvas and said, oh my gosh, I got hit so hard in the back of the head, and Jones didn't even connect with the back of his head. So did it look like, kind of the boy who cried wolf a little bit? I can understand why some people had that reaction, and Chad Dawson is reacting as somebody who chased Bernard Hopkins when Chad Dawson was still king of that division, chased Bernard Hopkins for years, and Hopkins refused to fight him, and you had to understand why. You're looking at that point, many people had him as either number 3 or 4 in the pound for pound rankings, and given his skill set, maybe not his demeanor as a fighter, but his skill set arguably is one of the 3 or 4 best in the sport. But he just doesn't have that complete package of a fighter's mentality. But so I do understand where Chad Dawson's coming from, in the sense that he's frustrated with a guy that he believes avoided him and then was kind of backed in a corner to finally fight him, and then found an opportunity to get out when he thought the going might get tough. Is that necessarily what happened? This is one of those times where I'm not really going to make a judgment. I don't know, and unfortunately it doesn't matter, because
the only thing I do agree with Chad Dawson is no rematch with Hopkins. One, it didn't deserve to be on pay-per-view to begin with. Should have just been a regular HBO fight. Whether it would have been a pay-per-view or not if they fought again, I mean, we don't know that. If they don't fight again.
Yeah.
But, you know, Hopkins is a tactical fighter, and a lot of people don't like watching Hopkins fight. I do. And Dawson, like you said, he is a good, skilled fighter. I don't think he's one of the best in the world. I don't even think he's the best in his division. But, you know, he shouldn't give Hopkins a rematch. You know, he should just move on. I mean, there's better, exciting, you know, more exciting fights to be made.
Like a rematch with Jean Pascal.
And also, Hopkins didn't need Chad Dawson. He could have fought other fights that, you know, more people would have been interested in seeing. I would have been interested in seeing him against Glenn Johnson.
Yep.
Who's an older fighter. They fought before. He gave Glenn his first loss as a pro. I mean, their careers have gone and you know, upward since then. Mm-hmm. And at this point of the career, would have been a nice fight. But, you know, aside from all that, I don't think Chad Dawson or Bernard Hopkins were the biggest loser of the night. The biggest loser of the night was Jorge Linares. Yeah. He was beating Antonio DeMarco the entire fight, and in the 11th round, for some reason, decides to be brave and trade with him. Trading. Could the referee maybe have allowed him a little bit longer to go? You know, you could make that case, but he was badly hurt. He should have never been in that position. He should have been moving around the ring, clinching. He had that fight won.
Yeah, he did, and that's too bad. You know, he's a fighter that Freddie Roach and Alex Ariza are big believers in. This is actually Alex Ariza's first fight as the head trainer for one of a Freddie Roach fighter, if you will. Everything out of camp had you hearing that Linares was the real deal. They loved his skill set. They loved his commitment to his craft, and he made a tactical mistake in that fight, like you said. I mean, there were judges, I think 2 of the judges when the cards came out after had him winning every single round of that fight. You're 10 cards ahead. I mean, you know, do you want to run around? I mean, people don't really want to see that, but when you're in his position with a guy who is relentless and still attacking you,
you need to know when to kind of He shouldn't have traded with him.
Yep.
And another fighter that won that night, and the fight, to me, he's the fighter that, and not me. I mean, I actually like seeing him fight from time to time. The fighter that a lot of people want to just go, you know, see go away for good, but he doesn't, is Paulie Malignaggi.
Yeah.
Paulie Malignaggi is a good fighter, and as much as people dislike Paulie Malignaggi, and yeah, at times he hasn't been, you know, my favorite in a lot of fights, but you know what, the guy's brave, and he's hanging in there. You know, he's trying to get Devin Alexander to fight him because they've been bickering back and forth on Twitter, and as you know, when he fought Miguel Cotto, he fought with a broken jaw. I mean, this kid's tough. And he's still around, and he won a big fight on Saturday. Yeah,
you could argue that Paulie Malignaggi, out of any fighter fighting today, has made the most out of the least. He has brittle hands. He's always had brittle hands. The guy's got 6 knockouts in his entire career. You know, he could hit us both in the face repeatedly now and probably not put a dent in it. But he's slick, and the guy comes to fight. He trains hard, and for all of his bravado and bluster, you know, talking about himself. I've found myself having a really hard time disagreeing with his assessment of himself, of other fighters, and the sport in general. You know, of course, does his delivery make him a likable fighter, or a likable guy? Not necessarily, but yeah, hats off to Paulie Malignaggi. He's gonna possibly earn himself a title fight, you know, before his career's out, and that's not something a lot of people thought would happen.
Nope. And I was actually Paulie Malignaggi last Halloween. I'll see if I provide the picture for for the show, but. Before we go, Omar Narvaez is going to fight Nonito Donaire. And Donaire, I don't think anybody will disagree, even the guy from the boxing in his hallway, who disagrees with me about the Amir Khan top 5 pound for pound. Yeah. Nonito Donaire is one of the best in boxing. He's one of the hardest hitters in boxing. He's a Filipino like Manny Pacquiao, and Filipinos are the hot shit right now in boxing. I mean, Mercedo Hesta and Pacquiao and Nonito, and I think he beats Narvaez, but Narvaez is a slick fighter. The only thing, he's never fought outside of Argentina. He's made a career of, you know, just staying there and taking on fighters, which kind of masks your record. He has beaten some good fighters. I mean, he beat Cesar Seda, who's a really good fighter, and Carlos Tamara, but he's moving up in weight. He's a smaller guy. And I really doubt he'll handle Donaire's power. But, you know, one thing's for sure, he's going to come in there to trade and fight Donaire.
Yeah, Narvaez is not anybody to sleep on for anybody who's seen him fight. But you have to say that Nonito Donaire is a special, gifted talent, and anywhere that Narvaez has a strength as a fighter, Nonito Donaire is just a better fighter than him at that. With the speed, the quickness, the overall skill set, in addition to the fact that he has physical advantages in his height, and he's been fighting at this weight for longer. Narvaez has never fought above super flyweight, so here he is, jumping up to a bantamweight fight with Donaire. He's also undersized for the division he was in, so Donaire has a size advantage, a reach advantage, speed, power. Not a knock on Narvaez, it's just a testament to how good Donaire is. And
Donaire has Victor Conti in his corner, and take that for however you want to take that. But Victor Conti, for as much damage as he did in baseball and I guess in other sports with Balco, the guy's a genius.
Yeah.
The guy is an absolute genius. I mean, for to take steroids and make it into a clear, and now he has a whole bunch of stuff which Donaire's been tested, Marvin Bird's been tested, and
Roberto also.
Right, and they've come out clean, but it's helped them. And Nonito Donaire, I think, has benefited from his training regimen.
Yeah, he's in Madison Square Garden. I think it's a great place to showcase his talent, and I think the best thing for Donaire is to stay a couple more fights, but then move up towards 126 to see how his body handles it, to get some bigger names too, because he deserves those fights.
Well, that'll be all today for Boxing During Dinner. It went by really quick. I think it's just because I miss you guys.
Oh, I miss you too.
Being on my
honeymoon.
Back,
game over.
Yeah, exactly. Game over. But you know what? Check out this really cool sneaker store. It's called Soulfly. SOLEFLY. I mean, I guess you'll see it here. I don't really need to be spelling this. Soon the spelling bee. Can you use it in a sentence?
Yeah.
They have really cool sneakers. The best selection I've seen, and it's here in Miami on US 1, close to Dayland Mall. And we'll provide their link on. We'll put their website here, and then we'll provide their link on Facebook. Yeah. But they have really cool stuff. Also, check us out on Facebook. Be sure to write to us. The Hopkins Dawson fight got
a lot of conversation points. Thank you to everybody who wrote in for that.
You know what? Keep writing, Rudy. The Yankees are out, but keep watching Boxing During Dinner. I guess it'll keep us entertained till next year, till we sign C.J. Wilson in the offseason. But and on Twitter @BoxDuringDinner.
Yep.
And a big thank you to Harold Letterman for the congratulations on my wedding. Harold, I hope you're doing fine. I heard you this weekend on HBO, and we got to get together soon when you come down.
And next week, Joey Hernandez fighting.
Twinkle fingers.
He'll be interviewing. He's fighting November 5th at the Hard Rock under Don King Promotions for a WBC interim junior middleweight title against Elko Garcia, I believe.
Who fought the late Vernon Forrest at some point.
So we're gonna have Joey in here. That's a wrap. We'll see you next week.